Hi, everybody. My name is Kate Brazali, and I'm a consultant with Smart College Selection. I'm here today to talk to you about my favorite part of the college application, which is the college essay. You see, I came to this work from the higher education side, where I was part of an admissions team, recruiting students, reading applications, and making decisions ultimately about who would join our campuses. And during that entire process, during that entire time, my favorite part was and continues to be the college essay. The reason for that, that's where you really get to know from a student in their own words who they are, what they want, interesting details about themselves. And I love to talk about the college essay with students and families because I have seen that there's some unnecessary stress surrounding this particular piece. What I hope to do is give you an understanding as to what the essays are, how colleges use them, and to show you that this is completely within your control, that you're going to do an excellent job. But it takes some understanding of what's out there to know that you've got this taken care of. So that's what I'm going to help you with today, is I'm going to help you understand the college essays. So let's get started. Understanding the college essays is the name of my presentation. Oddly enough, I think that might work. In order to do that, we have to go ahead and start off by putting this all into context. The number one question I get asked when I'm working with families and students about college admissions, I guess I shouldn't say the only, but one of the constant questions I get asked is, do colleges even read these? Are these essays important? Don't they have other things to do rather than read the particular essay? Well, the short answer, it depends. Short answer number two, I would say it's complicated. And short answer number three, it's often holistic. So what does that mean? Essentially, if a college asks for an essay, they use them. Bottom line, if they're asking you for a particular piece of it, they're going to use it. Now, when and how it is being used, that varies. Most colleges practice what is called holistic admissions. This is where you give relative importance on various components of the selection process. So the relative weight of components and how they measure them will vary school to school. But when it's all said and done, the student's ability to handle the rigors of a college application is always at the top, meaning how you do in the classroom, your grades, how you challenge yourself appropriately, that's always going to be number one, because colleges want to understand how you are doing in your current environment and how you potentially will be doing at your next environment academically, how to challenge yourself appropriately. Now, large state universities, and this is because of their huge applicant pools, often rely much more on grades and scores, at least for this first cut. You'll see it with some of the admissions process. They'll say, if you have this test score and this GPA, this is where you fall within our pool. They might just disqualify applicants who don't meet their numerical criteria. Private colleges and universities tend to be much more holistic when they look at a student's entire application or entire record, and that includes recommendations. They're just looking at every piece of the process and putting various weight on it and importance to their mission and values at their particular place. Neither one is better nor worse than the other. It's just two different ways of doing the same thing, or two different ways in which the schools will go about it. Essays essentially play different functions for different students. If you're applying to the most selective colleges without a stellar record, great essays are not going to push you through the admissions door. But if you're applying to less selective or more large, broadly admission ranged universities or smaller colleges, and you have a less than stellar application, several terrific essays can make more of a difference. Generally, essays are part of the admissions process to provide the admissions team an understanding of who you are from your own words. So, considering that admissions counselors only have a few minutes to read through each applications, students need to view their essays as an opportunity to showcase their talents and interests and to tell their story. College essays are important with this caveat. No matter how gorgeously you write it, no matter how pretty, you can't get into college on the strength of your essay alone. There are other pieces that are important. Or in the words of some other admissions officers during my time in admissions, a good college essay can heal the sick, but it can't raise the dead. However, while a good essay may not be able to salvage a mediocre application, a bad essay can definitely hurt a terrific application. So it's all in context. So understanding why and how it's used. The next thing I think it's really important to do is to separate two pieces that often get confused, the essay and the resume. So let's pause and talk about the resume just for a quick second. The resume is a part of the application where colleges are asking you to list activities or events or things that you participate in. This is a list of various aspects. So whether you were president of the student council, if you started a club, if you were a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout, all of those different things are important to a college. They're important to the college because they want to know how you're going to be involved on their campus. They're important to a college because they want to see if you've developed various interests throughout your time in high school. Has it grown? Just like in the high school transcript, have you challenged yourself as you've gone through these? But essentially, the reason why this gets confused often with an essay is because in the essay portion, a college is asking you to tell something about yourself, especially in the personal statement, which I'll talk about in a minute. And when you're being asked to tell something about yourself, it's a big task. It makes you freeze up. And often what happens is you just want to list things. You want to say, I'm a high school senior, tell me something about yourself. I'm a high school senior who really enjoys his physics class. I play soccer. I enjoy, hanging out with my friends. I started a club about this. If you notice, as you start to list some of these things, it becomes to sound a bit, like a wanted ad, less than an essay. And also they're pieces that need to be in your resume. Resume is where you can brag and where you can list. Now, my small pause here is the resume portion of the common application. It gives you a few things. It gives you the opportunity to list 10 activities, 50 characters each for position and leadership description and organization name, and then 150 characters each for details. So you want to use these characters. You want to give descriptions. Don't just say, I was part of NHS, and then leave it there, thinking, oh, colleges know what that is, so I'll get credit for that because I just need to put it there. No, what you want to go ahead and do is you want to say, I was part of National Honor Society, and then you want to give some detail about your experience, positions held, what you did there. Bring it to life. Otherwise, universities are just going to add in the details that won't be true to who you are, or help you if they're looking to review those particular things for scholarships. You want to be able to tell them why this particular piece was important to you. What's interesting this year about the resume piece is that they are also broadening it up so that you don't have to feel that each of the activities you put in there have to have had a certain category or title. If you have a passion piece, if you're a poet, you're able to elaborate on some of those as well. So really do take the time to be able to go through that. Also, you want to go ahead and do the honor section and say different types of honors and activities if you have those that are going to be listed in the academic area as well. So the admissions essay true purpose, if we're switching it, the resume is where you're going to dump everything. You're going to list format, and you are going to concentrate on 9th grade through the end of high school, okay? Those time periods, that's what they care about, is what you're doing in the high school time period. But the admissions essay's true purpose is to tell admissions officers something they don't already know about you and that isn't represented anywhere else on the application. The essay should give a taste, should reveal essentially your true passions, interests, and goals while giving a taste of your personality. Reading your essay should give the admissions officer insight into what it would be like to have a conversation with you, what makes you tick, what makes you you. The resume is where you dump information. You list the things that you've been involved in. Two different things. When talking about the essays, I like to break it down, or to keep it simple, and to break it into 3 various categories. I break it into the why us, the you, and the creative. The why us is for your dream school or program. The you, or more commonly known as the personal statement, and then the creative, that crazy creative that can be asked for scholarships and various selective programs throughout the process. So let's dive into each one of these. The first one is the you. I like to talk about the you first because in my opinion, it's actually probably the hardest to write because it makes you reflect upon yourself. And that's not always an easy thing to do. We don't ask adults to do this. So as we're asking you guys to do this, as you're starting to form opinions and interests and to dive into those deeper, it's a hard task. And that's essentially what the you is. It's a broad question designed to let you share something that you find to be important. Admissions officers want to feel connected to you. Okay, so they're looking for an honest personal statement about who you are, and they're looking for it to draw them in. So your love of superheroes, your baking chops, or family history are all fair game if you can tie it back to who you are or what you believe in. You want to avoid a rehash of the accomplishments of your high school resume. Okay, you don't want to list everything as we just talked about before. You've done that. And you want to choose something that the admissions committee will not discover about you when reading the rest of your application. So what's important here is to understand what the colleges already know about you, what you've told them in the rest of the application, and not to focus on that. An exercise I have students do is to look at the application itself and understand what you've already told them, okay? Because you don't want to redo it. Think of every piece of the application as an opportunity to say something new, okay? To share something new about yourself. Let's look at, as you see in my 1, 2s, and 3s, the most common pitfall is that students want to tell everything about themselves, that list type mentality. What you want to do is really focus on giving an engaging perspective, give them a moment, and keep them involved with some lively writing. You want to show something about who you are and reveal, as I said, something about your passions, interests, and goals while giving them a taste of your personality. So what I do here, so students are like, what are these questions? What do they often ask? So here is the 2020-21 Common App essay prompts. These are the ones that you will be using. If you haven't already seen them, I would suggest that you go ahead and you look at them and start thinking about which one would work best for you. There are a few different application formats, the Common App, the Coalition, and then personal essay ones, UTexas, California. This Common App, they use it for over 700 schools. So you're going to have a lot of colleges that are going to use this particular one. So when you select your colleges, you want to see what application format has the most amount of your colleges on it and use that. However, that being said, these essay prompts, whether it's Common App, Coalition, they generally have similarities between them. So hopefully you're able to write one of these very strongly, and then you can proceed forward with that with a few different applications. So I'm going to pick on the first one because it's my favorite, and it's also a great representation of what I'm talking about. But this one reads, some students have a background, identity, or interest or talent that is so meaningful that they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. Some students have a background, identity, or interest. The rest of you do not. To me, that's basically the most queued up way to say, tell me something about yourself, which is terrifying. So what you want to go ahead and do is think about, as I said before, those pieces about what they already know. What have you not been given a chance to tell them? Has something important been left unsaid, and does it fit into this box? So here's some tips. You're trying to show colleges your best self. So in number 2, the lessons we take from obstacles encounter, it might seem counterintuitive to willingly acknowledge a time you struggled, But overcoming challenges, demonstrating courage or grit or perseverance, that's why the last piece of this prompt is essential. And that says, how did it affect you and what did you learn from this experience? The obstacle you can write about, whether it's large or small, you must show the admissions committee how your perspective changed as a result. In the personal statement, as much as you're revealing, you also want to have a point. Make sure that your essay and your idea follows through from beginning to end, and that you essentially answer the question. Admissions offices get really bummed out if you don't answer the question. That is still most important. Look at prompt number 3, which is reflect on a time when you questioned a challenge or belief. Your answer to this question could focus on a time you stood up to others, or an experience when you owned preconceived, or when your own preconceived view was challenged. You want to choose a prompt, if you have, that's relevant, and be specific. Experience or recount, or you want to, excuse me, I always say that word wrong. You want to be really detailed. You want to have an experience that you can recount or reflect upon. A vague essay about a hot button issue doesn't necessarily tell an admissions committee anything useful about you. You want to make sure that this essay always comes back to you. So no matter how a personal statement is phrased, it's always coming back to revealing something about yourself, whether there's a characteristic or trait or value or interest. That's the trick of the personal statement. That's the trick of the you. And sometimes that's why I think it's the hardest to write. Now, if you can write a good personal statement, this is the particular one that gets the most amount of mileage. So this is the one you want to concentrate on and make sure that you feel is the best for you and that you're proud of it. I'm going to show you now some examples. I'm going to show you real essays that have been submitted over my time in college admissions. Now, what I want to point out to you is that I'm not going to show you the New York Times best. I want to show you real ones that I think have legs and merit, but they're real, meaning you're going to see some mistakes in them, that they're going to feel gritty. You might like them or you might not like them, but I'm doing this so that you can understand what is out there and what your peers are submitting, and so that you can understand what you want to go ahead and do. I don't want to show you the best or the New York Times best, because that's someone's finished, fabulous, way off work, and you're just at the start, okay? So let's not compare your start to someone else's finish. So here's an actual essay. My mom always said, if the good Lord gives you lemon, cut them in half and put them in your bra, it will do you some good. Rhetorically speaking, I think that's pretty sound advice. Well, the good Lord gave me my height, all 4 feet and 10 inches of it. Being a 17-year-old who can pass as a preteen does have its downsides. Having to stand on a box to see over the pulpit during my bat mitzvah was a bit of a pain. Finding clothes that fit and are not adorned with lace frills and dancing bunny rabbits is often a formidable task. Keeping myself from snapping at gas station attendants who repeatedly call me little girl takes considerable willpower. Despite these drawbacks, though, I have discovered that being vertically challenged has many advantages. This was number 1 of the personal statement. So background, identity, or interest. Essentially, I am only giving you the beginning. I'm only leading you in. But what I want you to do here is see what you're learning about the student. What do we learn about them? And let's get the most obvious one out of the way. She's short. Aside from that, though, she starts off with a quote from her mom. And her mom's pretty quirky, but it also shows how she likes her mom. And she also talks about how she is a positive person. She's saying, all these things are really annoying, but you know what? This is actually a positive piece of my life. We learn that she's Jewish. We learn that she has a good sense of humor. There are things admissions officers are going to glean from your application when they're given your personality and your own words. So just giving you a taste of what a personal statement gives you the platform to do and how you can use it. So this is just a beginning. The rest of the essay here would then continue to flow, or hers continue to flow, to talk about her height and to talk about these advantages and why it's important for us to know about it. That's what I want you to think about. Why is it important for colleges to know this about myself? Why am I sharing this? What does this reveal about me? And why does a college need to know that if they're going to have me be part of their community? That's the you. That's the personal statement. The next one is called the why us. And this is essentially, this is after the personal statement, there are various other essays that can be asked in the admissions process. They're usually called supplementals. Supplemental essays are chosen by the college. So once you fill out the application itself and you select that college, they'll have them for you. Some of them will have them, some of them will not. And there's a variety of different ones that are offered. One of the categories I talk about is the why us, because it's very common. It's essentially a college's way of saying, why do you want to come here? What do you like about us? What did you learn during your research, your college visits, your virtual tours, all of those things that has made you want to submit an application? And why do you think that you'd be a good applicant for this particular university? You need to have a sense of what makes this university special or different. Or if it's a program, why you want to be in that program. Why do you want to be a PA? Why do you want to be a dentist? Why do you want to do those things? What is so special about that program at that university that you are looking to go for it? The admissions is looking to get a sense of whether you know and value their school. So they also want you to articulate how you will be a good fit for the institution. So in general, even though they're saying, why us? At the end of the day, again, guys, it's back to you. Why you at this university? Why would you be a good fit? Because here's the deal. Universities know they're awesome. They've been telling you this entire time. They've been talking to you at your school. They've been talking to you when you see them at college fairs. They've been telling you information through their brochures and all of those different pieces. So they know their college rankings. They've told you. They gave you the hat when you visited. They know they're pretty awesome. Essentially, they want to know why you think they're awesome and why you should be part of their community. Even though they're asking you about themselves, it's really all about you. So can you identify how the college will be a good fit for you? Here are some of the, I would say, here are some prompts from 2019. These change from year to year, so don't necessarily think that these will be the ones that you will use. But here's some common ones that we've seen. University of Michigan's, they say describe a unique quality that attracts you to their particular undergraduate school or college. And they want you to include a preferred admission and dual, they say including preferred admissions and dual degree programs to which you are applying at the University of Michigan. How would that curriculum support your interest? Indiana University asks, or IU asks, describe your academic and career plans and any special interests. For example, undergraduate research, academic interest, leadership, etc., that you are eager to pursue at the undergrad or as an undergrad at IU. Purdue asks, among other things, how will the opportunities at Purdue support your interests both inside and outside the classroom? And they also have another one saying, briefly discuss your reasons for pursuing the major you have selected. Now these ones, if you notice, especially with Purdue's, I added on there the actual word count. So they could be 100 words. They could be in the Michigan or the IU, they could be up to 400 to 600 words. So it does range in the amount of space that they give you for it. The Common App essays, which I referenced before, I'm going to actually briefly tell you, do read the instructions for those. They're typically 650 word count in length. So these particular Why Us prompts, they tend to be, if not the same, smaller, okay? So you have a little bit of time to tell them about yourself. So a university is setting the foundation. What do you want to tell us? What do you want to do here? How do you see yourself fitting in? Let me show you some actual essays. Here is a Why Us essay, okay? Loyola Chicago is my #1 choice for a liberal arts and sciences school. I believe that Loyola will fill all my needs for a small private school. Not only does Loyola offer a full range of liberal arts and sciences program, but they also offer a wonderful core curriculum. As a Catholic, I think that Loyola's Jesuit affiliation can help me to a great extent in my education and in my personal life. Let's take a pause here. Briefly read over that as I as I talk about this. One of the biggest pitfalls of a YS essay is that students tell a university everything they already know. Loyola Chicago, this particular piece, they know all of these things. They know that they're a liberal arts and sciences school. They know that they're small and private. They know that they offer a full range of programs. You're not revealing anything that they don't already know about themselves in this essay. They know their curriculum is wonderful. The only nugget I can say we're taking away about the student is that they're Catholic and that they think that Loyola Chicago's Jesuit affiliation would be great for them. Otherwise, you've basically just given them the brochure right back at them. And in fact, that's my joke. That's a joke because it's pretty common. Students are so worried about getting the information wrong that basically they copy it verbatim from the website or from the brochure or wherever they got it and change the pronouns. Don't do that. Though it may sound good, this essay doesn't sound bad. You're basically doing some sort of plagiarism by telling the university exactly what they've told you right back at them. Personalize this. Explain to a school why it's your number one choice and why you want to be at a liberal arts and sciences school if you were this particular student. Why is that of particular importance to you? And how does Loyola stand out among the other ones to you? Because there's lots of them. Why us is really why you. So don't just tell them what they already know about themselves. Here's another one. Ever since I was a little kid, I have wanted to attend the University of Notre Dame. I come from a long line of graduates that bleed blue and gold, and I cannot wait to join this long-standing tradition. Notre Dame's physical therapy program is supposed to be amongst the best in the nation. And if I am to pursue this career, I want to be challenged by the best to become the best. I am hoping the admissions committee at Marquette will strongly my application for consideration as it is my top choice school. Will strongly my application for consideration as this is my top choice school. You heard me right, folks. Actual essays. I'd like to point out no one was hurt in the creation of these essays, and they did all attend various colleges. But in this case, the student did not attend the University of Notre Dame or Marquette University. When you're applying to really competitive programs, and you're saying, not only about, as in the YS, it can be for a school or a program. When you're applying for these competitive spots, little mistakes can tip you one way or the other. You, when you write a YS, are going to feel really passionate about it. You're going to feel good about it because you should know why you're choosing that particular place or that particular program. What you want to stop yourself from doing is believing that this is an essay that is a one-size-fits-all. If you're writing about IU, you're not also writing about Purdue. If you're writing about Michigan, you're not also writing about Purdue. Just to give you a feel for that. This particular student, in this essay, when you try to pull one name of a university and put another one in, you're going to have a mess up like this. And this is where I start to get really sad because I go, okay, as an admissions professional, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I want to be challenged by the best to become the best. I want to be in a program that's ranked #1 in the nation and is a great fit for you. I think that's awesome. And then I start to read and I realize, but wait, your parents, did they go to Notre Dame? Did they go to Marquette? Is Notre Dame the best? Is Marquette the best? Which one is it? It makes you feel sloppy and it raises a lot of questions. This particular student had a stellar academic grades. There was no reason, grades, experience, the whole thing. There is no reason why something like this should trip them up. So just to give you a feel for what that's like. I also want to give a shout out to, even though a YS is asking you all of these particular things about yourself and why you're going to be a good fit, you may not have it all figured out right now, but you may know that you really want to go to that school. It could be a feeling, it could be a family tradition, it could just be this is right. I'm going to figure out my life choices later, but this I know is where I'm going to grow. So don't feel like you have to have all of your plans laid out if you are confronted with a YS essay. Okay, but you do need to tell them why them. So here's a fun one. I intend to become totally involved in the life of the university and to make the most of the privilege of attending blank. I want the opportunity to grow and develop, to learn to see problems as challenges and obstacles as tests of my inner strength, and to experience the diversity and excitement of life. I want to cheer at 114 basketball games, eat 2,000 brats, and become a useful person. Microphone dropped. I just want to be here. I love it. This is a good place for me. I'm going to thrive and become the best person that I possibly can be because of my time at this university. I'm going to engage myself, take advantage of your opportunities here. But as for what that looks like, I don't know yet. I just know it's with you. And that's okay too. Sometimes those are the best essays because they show your passion, determination, and interest, but it doesn't have to have your path completely paved the whole way out. So those are various why us essays. The next is my favorite. It's the creative. The creative is often found, this is again a supplemental essay, and it can be found not only in, I would say, most highly selective admissions processes where they're trying to really dive down and give you more ways to showcase interest and information about yourself in a selective process, but they're also found in things like scholarships. And this particular essay tends to give the students the most amount of stress. I think it's because they're so fun in their nature, or their questions can be off the wall, or sometimes they just seem like they're asking for something, or students read into them this way. So what I want to point out to you before I show you some is that there is no actual right answer to any of these. Don't go sitting there thinking that there has to be something I said, or there has to be something that I need to tell them in order to get in. I worked for universities that have asked questions of this sort that are, there are two types of people who are admitted to this university. Not just this university. There are two types of people, ketchup and mustard people. Which one are you? And I have fielded phone calls where students call being like, did you admit mustard or ketchup last year? I don't know which one to choose. Is there a right one? Or then what ends up happening in those scenarios, if you overthink it to the point where you're like, oh, there must be a right answer, and you don't want to get it wrong, a lot of the essays would come back being like, well, ketchup is really sweet and mustard's really tangy. I think the combination of both is the way I would go. I would choose both of them. No, the question is, there are ketchup and mustard people. Which one are you? Choose one. Own your answer. That's what makes you stick out. There is no right answer. I promise. Okay? They want to learn more about you. Also, don't tell them what you think they want to hear. At another point in time, I worked at a Jesuit university, a Catholic Jesuit university, and they asked the question, who would you go on a road trip with and where would you go? Who do you think was the most chosen person to go on a road trip with? Any guesses? It was Jesus. We had a Jesus tally. How many people would pick Jesus? And students would be like, that's a great choice. I mean, it's a Catholic Jesuit university. That's got to be a winner. Now, the unfortunate thing is there were some students who were very sincere in their selection of that individual, were really sincere in how they wanted to have that. But unfortunately, when everybody chooses the same person, it's hard to really flush that out. You want to go ahead and stick out. You want to choose what would be the best to you. Runner-up on that year was also mom. So for the girls, and by the way, that was usually chosen by boys, not by girls. Girls are like, no, thank you. I'm not writing with mom. And guys are like, mom, oh, no. Give us answers. One of my favorites was the student who chose Samuel L. Jackson and said, I just love his voice. I could sit in the car with him and listen to him the entire time. And I was like, me too. Good choice. And it was unique to their particular person. Okay? So don't tell them what you think they want to hear. And here's another piece. If it is popular, it has been used, I say 20,000, I think 1,000,000 times. I've seen colleges that have asked things like, what is your life's motto and why? The road less traveled, just do it. That year, I know admissions officers like myself wanted to YOLO themselves off a bridge because you only live once was one of the most popular sayings. If it is popular, if it is in your school and everybody's saying it and using it, know that it's most likely a lot of different places. It's a pop culture thing. And if something is popular, so like the road less traveled, you have to overcome that in order to be able to give them an answer that makes you feel yourself. So you don't want to give yourself an uphill battle already. So if it is popular, it has likely been used a ton of times. Here are some other ones that are out there. Chapman University, what song should we be listening to while you read your application? University of Chicago, a hot dog might be a sandwich and cereal might be a soup, but is a blank, you can fill that one in. University of Georgia, the college admissions process can create anxiety. In an attempt to make it less stressful, please tell us an interesting or amusing story about yourself from your high school years that you have not already shared in your application. University of Notre Dame, defend an unpopular opinion you hold. And Tufts University, my favorite, I love to tell you this one. Why did you do it? Why did I do what, Tufts? Why did I do what? So again, they have no answer that they're necessarily going for. They just want to see where you're going to take it. And again, it is about revealing something about yourself. These ones are fun and often found in pressure cooker situations, but enjoy them and show something about yourself. Here's a popular one. This is the Dear Future Roommate one. And this is actually one from a student from Indiana. So that you know that this is somebody who was in your area who created this. So Dear Future, the prompt was, please write a letter to your roommate. This is Dear Future Roommate. For your convenience and reference, I've compiled a brief list of rules that should be observed during our time together. Number 1, there shall be no negative comments with respects to horses, anything related to Disney or the city of Paris. I will have none of it. Number 2, no complaints shall be uttered about how your closet space has been commandeered to house my personal library, or about how everything I own, and soon how everything you own, is covered in gray horsehair. All genres of music excepting rap, metal, and dubstep shall be regarded as equals. The same does not go for genres of film. Qdoba is now and forever superior to Chipotle. It's the case though. Number 5, I have always have first dibs in the dog piece when we play Monopoly, and play we will. Simple adherence to these rules will guarantee that we will get along just fine. However, it is only in the breaking of these rules, prompting me to reevaluate my opinions and challenging my understanding of the world, that we stand a chance of truly ever becoming great friends. Sincerely, your potential forever friend. I like that. There this year also some other essays. There are pieces of the application that you are going to come across, and I want to point these ones out. This is the additional information, and this year a COVID-19 question. So the additional information is not a new essay, it's part of the application, and it is certainly not for everyone. So please do not feel compelled to fill it out just because it is there. It is if a life event has truly impacted your academic performance, then the additional information section is a perfect place to succinctly and effectively explain the hows and the whys, if you will. Common events for this particular one, or reasons why people use it, would be a personal illness, whether that's mental or physical. Were you diagnosed with a learning disability, or ADD or ADHD? You had to work with maybe there was you had to work an extraordinary number of hours outside the house due to family situations or adverse financial situations. You could have been impacted by a natural disaster. You were transferring high school. This is a place for you to dive into that piece. So still using all the other pieces of the application to reveal information about yourself, your interests, your dreams, your desires, all that stuff. But this is a place for students who need it to give information that you need to know when reading their application. Important detailed information that gives context to the applicant itself. This is the platform for you to use it. It does not have to be a long essay, but it is essentially to do just that. Now, new this year, is the COVID-19 essay. So we know, or the common application is talking about how this scenario, this piece that we're going through right now, can have a deep and long-lasting impact on some applicants. Again, this is not for everyone. So if you need it, this space is yours to describe those impacts. And they say, this is a quote from the colleges, colleges care about the effects of your health and well-being, safety, and family circumstances, future plans, and education. So they want you to, if you need to explain how this experience has impacted you and is going to reveal something in your journey, you can use this space to tell it. So this question will give students an opportunity to name and describe the challenges and triumphs that they have endured due to this pandemic. So it's giving you a mouthpiece. The question will be optional, just like additional information, and it will appear in the additional information section of the application. The response length is limited to 250 words. Okay? So these are 2 additional pieces to be used for the purposes I just described, and they are not for everybody, and they are essentially an opportunity to show something that's important in your application. So now that we've talked about a variety of categories, we've talked about the personal statement, we talked about the YS, and we talked about the creative. Overall, what you've learned is that there's one particular essay that gets the most amount of mileage, usually the personal statement, the you. We talked about those prompts that the Common App particularly uses. Then we started to dive into some of the supplementals. There's a variety of them, but I focused this time on the YS, how that would work out for a university. Don't be surprised if you also get asked about extracurricular activities. That's another popular one. And then we talked about the creative ones, and that's a large category that could be used both in additional prompts and or that can be found for scholarships. Broad categories. In your time, how many essays would you write during an admissions, during applying to a university? Some students will have as few as maybe 1, maybe none. Some students can have as many as 10. What you want to do is you want to look at the colleges you're applying to, look at the essays and the supplements that they're asking you, and see if any of them overlap. See if there are any categories that you can talk about so that you can write one good essay for that and tailor it for the particular university. Not to be done for a YS, as we talked about before. And then you want to also know what you want to say. So we talked about how it's all about you. So revealing something that they don't already know about you. So let me give you some tips on how to set yourself up as to do this. We've just got understanding the purpose out of the way. You now know how they're being used in the admissions review. What you need to know is what you want to tell them about yourself. And that's where it gets a bit trickier. So things that you can do right now is be engaged. So be engaged in your life in general. Be aware of what you're interested in. Read books, read the news, read articles, read blogs, read. I can't stress enough how reading helps us identify our feelings and interest on things. Just reading itself helps you think of things that you may not have thought naturally just sitting around waiting for information to come to you. So reading is a good way to start generating ideas. So is writing. I recommend writing or reflecting on various pieces of the application, or not of the application, writing in the morning, journal entries. So writing, number 4 and 5, journaling and reflecting, writing and reflecting. It's not something that I even enjoy doing or that I naturally doing, but if you can put yourself in that mindset to just think about your world, see things around you, reflect, that will help you as well as you start to sit down and approach these questions. And then you want to brainstorm ideas. So brainstorming can be done a variety of different ways. There are a few different things that I would suggest. Brainstorming ideas for a particular college essay. What I would first suggest doing is looking around the world around you. So meaning, what do you have all over the walls of your room? What do you want to see every day when you wake up? What posters, what trophies, what pictures, what do you have surrounding you? This helps you brainstorm. Write those different things down. Why do you want to see them every day? Why are they so important that they've made a shelf in your room? If I'm being really techie, I'll say, what's on your lock screen? What's the lock screen of your phone? What do you want to look at? Take a look at that and think about those things. Another fun activity that you could do, I call it the, well, I don't know what I'm going to call it right now, but you can announce at the table, at your dinner table to your family, hey guys, I'm actually going to be gone for a few months. I'm going to go study abroad, or I'm going to go on a journey, a trip, and I won't be here every day. What would you miss about me? What would you notice in my absence? And see what they say. See what those are around. You can do it with your friends, you could do it with your family, but it's an easier way of saying, can you tell me some stuff about myself? Just instead set it up and saying, let's play this game. Let's find out, what you might miss if I was gone. And maybe vice versa, do it with them as well. Brainstorm things. And we just did a bit of the understanding the prompts. So understanding what the prompts are asking, identifying what is out there, and keeping a list of it. Today, you will have a handout given to you by your high school. And this is an activity I think is really helpful for students. If you read the instructions, it'll tell you to list, okay, so the directions for this are as such. You want to use this particular worksheet to brainstorm. And the way that I've set it up, hopefully will give you a good train of thought in helping you put this together. But the first thing you want to look at in that first column is, what do they already know about me? Center yourself. So what does the college already know about you? Well, think about the application. If you've looked through the application itself, you're going to see that they've asked for bio information. They've asked to know your name. And do this really basic, your name, your address, your parents' names, your siblings' name, what high school you've gone to. They know where your parents work. They know the classes that you've taken, and continue to fill that out. I'm not going to give it all to you, but think about all of that just basic dump of information you've given them. Also think about who you've maybe selected to be a recommender. What do you think they've told them about you? The activity section, don't forget that. So list all those pieces, because when a college admissions officer reads your application, think of them as a scientist. They're collecting all the facts and they're just trying to synthesize them and put them together. So list everything the admissions counselor will know about you from other parts of the application in that first section. It's a good idea to look at the common application as you do this and to get the ideas for number one. The longer the list here, the better. In number two, then I want you to start to think about, if I looked at all that information in number one, just like an admissions officer would, what might they assume or wonder about me? What might they want to know, or what conclusions might they draw, true or false, about myself from that data set? So essentially, fill out that column. What might they assume or wonder? Again, lists are good for shaping your idea. So really dive into it. If you are, somebody who has always done everything involving with theater, might they wonder if you want to do theater in college? Might they assume that that's a big part of who you are? All of those different things. Think like them. If I just saw the facts about myself, what would I think? And then once you have yourself framed from, here's the list of information that they have, here's what I bet they might think about me from that context, what else do you want them to know? Or what do you think it's important that they should know that you haven't already had the chance to tell them? So in that third column, finally think about what you would like them to know about you that doesn't appear in anything else. And that's a column that's going to help you, once you've centered yourself, start to generate ideas and help you think of different things that you want to reveal to them. How you do that, what stories you tell, what examples you give, all of those things will come off of that third column once you figure out what it is that you want to tell them. And that will empower you to do so. It was really fun to talk to you guys today about my favorite part of this process. I hope that I was able to give you some tips and some information that will help you as you go through this. I know that you're all going to do fabulous jobs, and I want to wish you the best of luck on your college applications. You guys are going to do fabulous.